Hello, today I'm going to be talking about how healing brings you back to yourself. So, when you heal, I'm going to call it healing because I don't know what else to call it. It's healing, but it's not how other people perceive healing as. Like, how guys perceive healing, they think it's some spiritual guru thing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something similar but different. Okay, so what I'm referring to is breaking patterns that your mindset has built because of what you've experienced, negative experiences in life, trauma, situations, relationships, all of that. So when I say healing brings you back to yourself, what I mean is healing from mindset patterns. And when you heal from these mindset patterns, basically what you're doing is you're hitting the reset button for yourself. Because think about it. You go through an experience and then you develop this pattern or this belief, something to do with your mindset that you're just carrying with you from then on. And then you heal that pattern, you heal from that experience, and you're just resetting your mindset to what it was before the thing happened to you. Except what you're adding is the wisdom and the knowledge you gained from that experience, but nothing negative from it. Not the limitations that you gained from it, not the limiting beliefs, not the, what's the word? I wouldn't say just limitations. There's a word I'm looking for. Hold on, let me think about it. You're no longer carrying trauma with you. You're no longer there's no emotional baggage. So you're letting go of the emotional baggage. You're basically letting go of anything that is attaching to that experience. And I believe, even with positive experiences, that you need to let them go because you can't hold on to them. You can't be attached to them because that's just not how life is. You just have to go with the flow, and let things go so that you can go through better things. So when you heal from this, you heal your mindset, basically. And everyone needs to do this, including guys. Because I know that some guys think that healing is a girl thing. Or like feminine, But that's not the type of healing I'm talking about. I'm talking about, it's more practical than that. It's your mindset. It's something you need to do. And girls and guys can do it in different ways, because I know that girls are more spiritual and guys are more physical. So what tends to happen is guys tend to pursue physical things, physical actions, things they can physically handle to grow their mind. And girls, they usually don't have to do anything. It's all spiritual, They don't have to go and physically do stuff because it's all spiritual. But the thing is, when guys, this is a little off topic, but when guys do go on to do their physical stuff, they don't necessarily practice the habit of letting go of the stuff that mentally impacted them, the stuff that they can still carry these traumas and these things, and they can still affect their mindset regardless of how much they grow within their mindset. You know what I mean? And for girls too, even if you spiritually grow, you can still have a chance of carrying these things, because growing your mindset doesn't necessarily require you to let go of these things. But growing your mindset to an extent that changes you and lets you fully develop into who you're meant to be and into what you're meant to be doing in life, and lets you pursue your life purpose, that requires you to let go of these mindset patterns that you have. So that's why I say healing brings you back to yourself, because think about who you were as a child. Like, you may not remember as well, but you knew who you were when you were a child. You knew how you acted, and you knew when things started to change, and you started to act in different ways because of the things that happened to you in your life. And basically, what healing does is it allows you to keep going in life without carrying anything with you. No beliefs, no nothing from those experiences. I could go get in a car crash right now. I don't know how long it would take me to heal from that, but it would take a bit to heal. Let's say a couple months. I don't know. Every experience takes a different time for me to heal. Because when I was depressed, that took about 2 years to heal from that, from my childhood and all that stuff. And still, for 4 years, it's taken me 4 years to slowly heal my childhood. Like, every aspect of my childhood, everything. My mind just works that way. Like, I can't just carry things with me. That's just not who I am. I need to constantly be changing and evolving and growing. And in order to do that, I have to let things go. I have to let old versions of me go. But I can't just let old versions of me go if I'm still emotionally attached to these situations because of how they impacted me and what they did to my mind. So that's what the healing comes in. I know a lot of people can function without doing that because they just push things down. Especially guys have a tendency to push things down because they think that they shouldn't feel things. You don't need to have a full-on mental breakdown in front of the whole world or anything. Like, you don't have to have a pity party, but you do have to let your emotions out in some way, whatever the form that may be. Some guys, they just don't do the crying thing, so don't cry. Go punch a boxing bag. Do that instead. Do something that is going to let you release those emotions. Even journaling. You need to think. Whatever you do, you need to allow yourself to release the emotions, either physically, actually both physically and mentally, because you can be angry, you can be sad, you can be like grieving over certain things, and you may need to physically release those emotions, which is the case for people that have gone through severely traumatic events. They have to physically release those emotions, and that's why people end up in abusive relationships and yada yada, all this stuff, because they have so much trauma built up in them that they don't know where to put it, and then it goes to the other person, and then they end up being abusive. So your solution is physically release your emotions in a healthy way. Obviously, go sign up for a boxing class, do something, go bawl your eyes out in the middle of a parking lot alone, whatever floats your boat. And then mentally, allow yourself to mentally release your emotions. Obviously, when you physically release your emotions, you're mentally doing that too, but you need to be thinking through the process. You need to be thinking about everything you felt, how it made you feel, what it did to you, all this stuff. Sometimes people have trouble articulating their thoughts. So what you need to do is you need to practice journaling, and you also, may not sound relevant, but you need to read more, because the more you read, the more your vocabulary expands, the more you're able to think critically and able to think in a way that you can finally articulate how you feel, because I know a lot of people struggle with that, and I used to struggle with that a lot too. Like, when I was depressed, I don't even know how I feel, Like, I don't have the words to describe how I feel. I don't even know what to say. I just feel like this. And that can be so much harder, so much more, it's just worse when you can't articulate how you feel, because what the heck are you going to do about it then? What are you going to do about it? Because you don't even know how you feel, So, read more, journal more, practice. You don't have to go studying all this vocabulary. No. just read. If you find a word that you don't know, Google it, because when you're reading, it has a context. That word has a context, so it's so much easier to learn words when you're reading. And then when you do it more and more, that word is just going to click. You're not going to need to study it. You just read the definition, read the sentence again, done. Move on with your life and continue reading. So, yeah, you need to find a way to really process how you feel with thoughts, not just releasing your emotions. When I say physically release your emotions, that doesn't necessarily involve articulating how you feel. Because you can just be punching a bag and be like, I'm so angry about this. But that's not, you need to think about really thoroughly, like, how it made you feel. Why is it making you mad? Why is it still making you mad after all this time? How you think it impacted your mindset, what it made you believe, like all these little things that you need to know, along with physically releasing your emotions. And if you don't want to physically release your emotions, that's fine. If you just want to scream into a pillow, that's fine. Do whatever floats your boat. Do whatever releases your emotions. But you need to find a way to physically release your emotions and articulate your thoughts as you release your emotion. As you release your emotions. I can't speak anymore. Okay. And that doesn't have to be at the same time. That can be at the same time, but I think that's a little difficult. Unless you're crying. That can be, that's how I do things. I just cry, and then I'm just thinking through all this stuff while I'm crying. I'm like, I always do it in the car, alone, in the middle of a parking lot, just like how I am right now. And I just sob. And as I'm doing it, I just talk to myself. Sometimes I scream, Anger can develop when stuff like this happens. So, what I've noticed, this is a little bit irrelevant. Well, it's not irrelevant. Nothing is irrelevant. Nothing I say is irrelevant to what I'm talking about. It always ties back to it. So, if you feel like I'm going off somewhere else, I'm not. Trust. Okay, so I've noticed people just hold their emotions down, and then what happens? The more you age, the more you develop, you're basically clogging a drain, Bruce Lee said, the usefulness of a cup is in its emptiness. So think about it as a cup. You have all this junk in your cup. How are you going to grow with all this junk in your cup? You can't put in any new habits. You can't put in any new beliefs. Because that cup is full of shit. So what are you going to do about it? You have to empty the cup. You have to release all these things. Release your attachment to them. Some people, they need to be attached to these things, or else they can't be okay. It's like a survival mode, defensive mechanism, fight or flight mode, And that's not healthy for you. So, you either have to deal with it now, or stay strong, carry through until the situation is over, and then you figure it out and heal through it. Because that's happened to me. Sometimes I can't heal. Sometimes I've been able to heal situations as they were occurring. Like, when you live with your parents and you're dealing with the trauma of what they said to you and all this stuff, I have healed from trauma from my parents while still living in their household. That's very doable. But let's say you're going through a really, really rough patch in your life, and sometimes you struggle with healing through that. So what do? You wait until it's over, and then that's the moment where you can heal through that. Because sometimes things happen in your life for you to just get through them, and then you release the emotions. You know what I mean? So, yeah. That's all I got. No, actually, I got more, but I need to think about it first. And I know I'm just talking, but don't you think it's cool how this just is in my mind from life experience? I'm not even reading off a script. Anyways, I think this is a pretty good job I'm doing. Anyways, irrelevant. But, so, yeah, I remember what I was saying. When I've noticed people push down everything, what happens when you do that? When you push down your emotions and you keep going. And you think you're being strong by doing that, but actually you're being weak. You know why? Because it's very weak of you to just push down your emotions instead of being a man and dealing with them right there. Because I know that guys are like, oh, I need to push down my emotions. No, that's weak. You know why? Because you're basically saying to yourself that you can't handle the emotions you feel right now, so you're just going to push them down. You can't handle actually working through healing this pattern, this belief, this trauma, this experience, the negative influence of this experience. Instead of doing that, you're deciding to push it down and just ignore it. Which is dumb and weak. Not to put labels on anyone, but I'm just saying. Because the strong thing to do is to toughen up, get your shit together, and let things out. You need to let things out. And in a healthy way. Don't go abusing people, okay? That's not healthy. Because the problem is, it's going to be let out gradually throughout your life. So would you rather just have a really rough, horrible, depressing week, or even a day, or even a year? You know, it's all different depending on how much it affected you. But whatever you do, don't rush the process, because that's weak too. Because what are you doing? Don't rush the process. You need to let everything go. All the emotions, like squeezing the juice out of an orange. Don't leave a single drop in that orange, because then you can't discard the peel, you know? And then that's just sitting there, you know what I mean? You see where the vision is going? So, extract everything, all the emotions, literally till the very last ounce. I have had times where I have basically forced myself to cry, even when I didn't feel like crying, just to really get everything out of me. And by then, after that, I was done. That situation has no effect on me. I've learned what I need to learn. I've let go of what I need to let go of. There we go. Skyrocketing growth. So, yeah. That's what I got. Don't push your emotions down, because, oh yeah, that's what I was saying. Sorry, I'm forgetting. I'm a little bit, I don't know. But it's gonna gradually release no matter what you do. If you choose to ignore it and push it down, you're going to be miserable for the rest of your life, and you're not going to grow as much as you could have grown. And then you're going to get yourself into shitty situations that honestly you could have avoided completely, because you chose not to heal from these situations. So, like, let's say abusive relationships. Those people chose to push down their emotions and not release them fully. What happens? They get into a relationship, and now, who are they releasing those emotions on? The other person. Gradually. And some people have some pretty severe trauma that they can't just release in one day of crying, or one day of boxing, or one day of screaming in your pillow. Sometimes it takes years of suffering. But that's where the real growth is, right? Because it's so easy for people to say, oh yeah, go on a run when you don't feel like running. Go to the gym when you don't feel like going to the gym. Keep pushing, do all this stuff physically. But when it comes to your mind, and you actually have to do the mental work without depending on physical circumstances and physical habits, really, to push you into growth, nobody feels like doing that. What happened? Nobody has thought of doing that, of just sitting there in silence, not moving, no need to go to the gym, no need to run. You're just sitting on your ass and dealing with the shit in your mind. yes, it's good to go to the gym and push, but that's a different kind of benefit for your mind. That's growth for your mind. That's like training your mind to be able to deal with things. But that isn't releasing what's already there in your mind. It's like you have a garden of trees. These are rotting trees. They have viruses. They're dying. They're not dying, but no, they're actually growing because you keep watering them every single day with your mindset and with the fact that you keep thinking about them and the fact that you're emotionally attached to them. So think of that as your trees. You have all these trees. Where in your garden do you have room to plant new trees that actually benefit you and give you fruit to eat? You don't have room. So what do you have to do? You can't just chop down the tree because then you still have the trunk there. You still don't have room because the trunk is there. What you have to do is you have to dig deep. It's gonna hurt. You have to dig deep. You have to extract the roots from the ground. It's gonna hurt like hell. But after that, look at that. You just got an infected tree out of your garden, and now there's room for a new tree to be planted. Boom. And the only way for you to get rid of that infected tree is for you to dig out the roots. You can't just cut off a branch and think, oh yeah, I'm going to do my affirmations this morning. I am loved. I am happy. I am beautiful. When your entire childhood, someone was telling you how useless and worthless you are. Because you can do your affirmations, but it's only conscious. It's not unconsciously rooted in your mind. Because you still have a belief that you're worthless because of the trauma you haven't healed from. So you need to dig deep, get the roots out, heal from all that bullshit, and then you can plant your new tree. And then your affirmations will actually work. Because you've healed from the negative influence, the negative experiences that influenced your mindset and your beliefs, limiting beliefs, right? And there you go. And that's why healing brings you back to yourself. Because yes, healing allows you to grow. But what it does is it brings you back to who you are in your soul. You grow, but no matter what in life, no matter what happens to you, you are still the exact same soul. You know what I mean? Even if you're a murderer, even if you're a priest, you have the same soul. Even if you're a murderer and a priest in the same lifetime, you still have the same soul. Your soul does not change. What you do changes, what you believe changes, your actions change. But who you are at your core does not change. So what healing does, it extracts all this bullshit from your soul so that you can shine as who you truly are. And that will allow you to really get to know yourself, get to know what your purpose is, and get to know what you want to do with your life. And get to be fulfilled. You know why? Because you don't have junk clogging your drain. Because if there's junk clogging your drain, this is why people become, some people have mental issues, but let's not talk about that. Normal people that are fine mentally, for the most part, they go off doing crazy things. Like, I remember Mike Tyson, he was talking, you can tell that in his soul, he's a good person. In his soul, he has a good soul. But you can see what happens to him when he doesn't heal from these negative experiences. Because think about, I think it was his daughter, his little 2-year-old daughter, I don't remember. His daughter died. And he was talking about it on a podcast or something. And he was saying how he just wanted to shoot up a school or shoot up something. That happens because you have so much pain and grief and trauma that you don't know where to put. And you can't just release because you think it's better to just hold it in. Things like that happen. It's just the most extreme of what I'm talking about. There are severe extremes, and that is one of the extremes. People do crazy stuff like that because they don't properly heal from what it is they've suffered from. Because it takes so much more suffering. You're voluntarily choosing to suffer even more, maybe even longer than the experience you're trying to heal from, so that you can be okay mentally. It's so much easier to just shove things down and move on with your life. And sometimes you don't have time. You don't have time to really let yourself feel the pain. And I think that's pretty dang weak. You need to let yourself feel the pain. Don't be scared to suffer. You know why? Because at the end of suffering, always good things happen. Always. 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 No matter what. Because basically what you're saying, you're telling the universe, you're telling God, you're telling whatever higher power you believe in, that you are willing to suffer even longer than the original experience you're trying to heal from, so that you can fully release it and allow yourself to heal from it and to be yourself again. You're allowing yourself, you're giving yourself a new, it's like, wait, let me think about this. You're allowing yourself, you're telling yourself, because when you do these things, you get closer to the higher power, which when you get closer to the higher power you believe in, you automatically get closer to yourself. Think about all the relationships in the world that are super successful. It's because they were centered from a higher power. They focused on a higher power to connect them. When you say, hey God, hey universe, I'm willing to suffer even more than I've already suffered so I can get over and get through this experience, so I can learn and grow and be able to be myself again. The universe sees that, acknowledges it, and is like, dang, this person is willing to suffer for their own benefit so that they can grow and really evolve into who they're meant to be. So what does that do? When you've suffered, you attract experiences that are more meant for you. You attract everything. You're now on a higher frequency because you're not carrying these low negative energies, this low negative influence on your life. Now that you're in a higher frequency, when you go from such a low frequency to such a high frequency, let's say it takes a couple of years to go from that because you're healing through all this junk, your life completely does a 360. And I'm telling you from personal experience, complete 360. Why? Because you're not manifesting or putting it into the world. You're doing the work. Yes, manifesting works, but only if you're also putting in the work. You don't need to put in the work for the exact thing you're manifesting. And I know that for a fact. Sometimes you do. But you need to put in the work into yourself. Because when you put the work into yourself, that's when everything else aligns. That's what Jim Rohn said. Put work into yourself more than you instead of putting more work into your job. I think something like that. Because when you work on yourself, automatically your job aligns with that higher version of you. Think about it. Doesn't that make sense? Because everything internal, you change, you shift what's going on internally into this higher version. Now everything else is going to align. You're going to have better friends. You're going to have what you're looking for. And no, it's not going to be like, oh, okay, now I'm going to be my dream version of myself in 1 year. Ta-da! No. It's going to happen gradually. You're not going to have perfect anything. Nothing is perfect. But you're going to have what you've been looking for. You're going to have what you need. God doesn't give you what you want. God gives you what you are, what you need. you know? God gives you these cycles to go through because you're clearly not breaking the cycle on your own mentally, because you're not putting in the mental work to really look within and think about it, you know? So what does God do? God gives you external experiences so that you can overcome this situation. And sometimes it requires external experiences for you to really understand what's happening and what you really believe and what these things are causing you to believe, what these things are doing to your mindset. So anyways, yeah, healing brings you back to yourself at your core. Because even, it's like, you know how people say we're souls having human experiences? That's very true. When you heal, what I mean by it brings you back to yourself is your soul is the same soul no matter what, right? No matter what happens to you. But you're having a human experience. So you're really expanding what you're capable of, who you are, how much you grow, how much you evolve into the person you're meant to become. You're really, you have to get to your capacity before you die, you know? Like, that's the whole motivation in life, is to really become who you were meant to become and nothing less than that, you know? And your soul is fully capable of doing that, as it is. But your mind, your body, all this human stuff can either help you or hurt you. It can stop you, or it can really shoot you through to get to your goal. So I'm sorry, I keep wandering off, but healing brings you back to yourself because you're the same person, you're the same soul. When these things happen to you, mentally you're growing, but spiritually as a soul, you are able to fully allow your soul to shine through into your physical being, you know? And that's how people end up doing what they're meant to be doing with their life, pursuing their life purpose with their soul family, soul tribe, soulmates, twin flames, all of that. It's like cluttering your soul. You need to clean the cup. You need to clean the garden. And then it brings you back to yourself, who you really are. But you're also growing. It's hard to describe, but you get the gist of it. Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you for listening for 32 minutes and 45 seconds and more. I hope you enjoyed this. I am back on YouTube. I took a short break to do some mental work because that's very necessary. Sometimes you have to put everything else on pause. Sometimes that's not possible, and that's okay. That'll teach you to be tougher. But sometimes when you have the option to put things on pause, sometimes it's necessary to do that in order to fully focus on what you're healing from. Okay, no more wandering off. Adios.